Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Odereri. It is no longer news. The current boom in the global cocoa market prices. It is no longer news that there is massive boom in the cocoa commodity market. Today, 29th January 2025, a ton of the cocoa seed is selling for $11,000. This was something that sold for $2,400 in 2022. You see, sometimes when I look around us in this country, when I hear us lament that we have 197 million poor people, when I hear us lament about the state of insecurity and poverty in the land, when I see a people that God has placed in an oasis of wealth living in penury, I weep. 2009, I was privileged to speak. 2019, I was privileged to be a guest speaker at the PDP Governors Forum. And I was privileged to speak on the opportunities within the agro-value chain and how we can utilize the agro-value chain, mechanize and tech agriculture, built in clusters, not doing nothing new, just like what they've done in Netherlands, in other places, in Italy. How we can modify the Copado model under what I classify as the missions community diaspora private public partnership framework to structure cluster development that will drive agro development from the upstream to the midstream to processing to distribution. Emefiele was the CBN governor then, and I remembered he had a very robust program where there were additional monies to farmers, portfolio farmers, mostly who do not even have any understanding of what farming is. We do that trillions of naira without any structure. I shared with the PDP Governors Forum on very simple things and structures and designs of how this can be done. For those from the north, I told them, I said, when the Bible talks about a lamb flowing with milk and honey, the Bible talked about the dairy. The milk is the dairy, animal husbandry, cows, and all those stuff are milk. The honey is the date fruits. Egypt is the biggest producer of the date fruits. Egypt is 95% desert. Saudi Arabia in 2006, as wealthy as the Saudi Arabia is, decided to go on date palm development to create oases of wealth and water and to checkmate desert encroachment. Within 15 years, Saudi Arabia built massive plantations that enable it to rake in about $2 billion every year. Israel in the Negev has several plantations that does almost about 40 tons per hectare. Nigeria is the only place, northern Nigeria is the only place in the whole wide world, just like southern Nigeria, where the dates grow in the wild and fruit twice in a year because of the natural climatic conditions God has given to us. And I shared with them. The north has arable land mass of over 50 million hectares. I said, you don't need 50 million hectares. All you just need is 2.5 million hectares. Out of the tens of millions of hectares, develop clusters, 1,000 hectares every cluster, under what we call the agro-pastoral arrangement. What was agro-pastoral arrangement? Set people up in cooperatives, 1,000 hectares. Set people up in cooperatives, 1,000 youths and women and men. Do 500 hectares of the date plantation. Date plantation. Use 500 hectares, 400 hectares to do legumes, maize, cereal, and other things. Then allow the pastoralists, the herdsmen, to locate their cows there, so that when their cows will produce the poo, their cows will eat on the corn silage. After you have harvested the corn, you do the corn silage to produce feed for the animal. Then the animal poo will be used to produce organic fertilizer, to generate power, and all the rest of it. Israel, in Netherlands, they have about 18,000 of such centers, agro-pastoral arrangement. We ran the numbers to do it in the north. And then in every of the clusters, you have at least 25 agro rangers that will be trained, fully armed by the army with AK-47, with armored trucks, with drones to protect each cluster. That will give us about 125,000 armed rangers that will help to cordon off and shield the north from all manner of criminal encroachment. And then from each cluster will take about $6 million to do. We ran the numbers. Emefiele was CBN governor. Akinwumi Adesina AFDB president would have easily funded it. All the governors would have done was, in those clusters, local government chairmen would produce infrastructure like borehole, provide houses, warehouses for processing of the nuts and everything, and security and everything, and that is it. Where the quarters, where the workers will live. It won't cost much. It will be cooperative. Each of the clusters will be independent. It will be a cooperative. The assets will be what is being funded, the cows and all those stuff. All that government will do is to provide guarantees. The SPV is to provide guarantees for the SPV. They will provide the private sector. We are willing to provide off-takers that will buy up everything that they produce and set up a commodity board to ensure that nobody is priced out. For those in the southwest, I told them, you have 19 million hectares of land. Just dedicate 20% of that land mass. Do clusters of cocoa plantation. For those in the southwest, the same thing. Southeast, that does not have so much land, I told them, if you can do 100 hectares of cocoa plantation in every ward. Michael 50-something years ago, did clusters of cocoa plantations from Abia State to Cross River State. 50-something years ago, Michael Obara. I said, these governors, you're not bringing cocoa. Cocoa Research Institute, they are producing a species that can start producing at 18 months. Some of us in Pakistan, we are doing nurseries that can supply the same species. And we told them, for those in the southern belt, southeast, middle belt, do also 200 hectares of palm plantation in every of the world. Under the same arrangement, the people own their land. We will supply them with the seedlings, the hybrid seedlings, and we will sign off take agreement with them. We will bring private investors, buyers that will sign off take agreement with them, whatever. And what the government used to aggregate them, under the cooperative setting, government will be paying them stipend that will be recovered when during harvest. And while they are waiting for the cash crops, the cocoa, the palm tree, the cashew to begin to mature to fruit, they can intercrop with maize. They can the date palm, they can intercrop with tomato, they can intercrop with cucumber, they can intercrop with serious onions, things that can give them cash crop while we're waiting. Do you know that if these governors had listened, this process will not cost them a kobo. It won't take them their fuck and jack. In fact, any investment they are going to make there to local government by either doing fencing or building will be calculated as their equity contribution under a transparent arrangement. Clusters, independent clusters. If we had borrowed 15 billion to do it in the north, borrowed $10 billion to do it in the southwest, 10 billion or $15 billion to do it in the southeast and south, today, we will be across the whole value chain. This is 2019. We will have been enjoying nothing less than 350 billion. We ran the numbers. We will have been enjoying nothing less than $350 billion revenue turnover from the agro value chain. We will have had 99% domestic food self-sufficiency. We even mapped out those that will do rice and everything that we needed in Nigeria under a transparent missions, community, diaspora, private, public partnership arrangement. We even showed them clearly, if Netherlands, 18 million people, 1.9 million hectares of agri technology is the lowest technology. Anybody can replicate anywhere. If Netherlands can do 1.8 billion euros, we can do times 5 what Netherlands can do. Even Niger State alone can surpass Netherlands. We showed these guys how these things can be done under emissions, communities, diaspora, private, public, partnership, structured arrangement, designed in such a way that the state will only participate in providing the structure, since the Land Use Act confers the land on the governors and the local and their errand boy, local government chairman who administer on their behalf. What they do just to put these communities using the town unions and the missions, the churches and the religious groups, the mosques and Islam, to just put them under organized structures. We will create 25 million jobs direct. Today, cocoa is selling for $11,000 per kg, per ton. If they had done that in 2019, by now, 2025, 6 years after, all the cash crops we listed, the date palm, the palm tree, the cocoa, the cashew, will have been bountifully yielding money, massive money. We will have reclaimed over 10 million hectares of land across Nigeria over the last 6 years that bandits and criminals and kidnappers are today using to torment and terrorize Nigerians. But these governors are not thinking. Oh, they are busy fighting. Oh, VAT derivative should be 50%. It should be 30%. Oh, Donald Trump has halted aid to Africa, to Nigeria. They are wailing and crying. There's no country in the whole wide world as blessed as Nigeria. There's no country elsewhere around the whole world that has the natural endowments, the right sunshine, river tributaries, 800-kilometer Atlantic coastline, everything, population 220 million people, 211 million people under 65 years. There's no country as blessed as this country. The only thing lacking is that we are plagued with most cancerous, wicked, satanic, insensitive, non-compassionate sons of Satan who call themselves political leaders, and a bunch of, in majority, moronic human beings who do not even know their citizens' their obligations as citizens, who have sold their conscience to their ethno-religious awareness. Once a criminal is from their own region and religion, they will support him. They are willing to die supporting criminals and their slavers than to allow human beings with the same kind of conscience like Michael Lokbara, to govern them. We are going to be like this. 2027 is around the corner. 2027. See, the politicians cannot rig if we don't help them to rig. We have 176,824 electoral polling booths. 176 Nigerians will man it. If the 176 Nigerians decide that nobody will use them to rig an election, nobody will rig it. 8,009 electoral vote. If they say nobody will use them to doctor things, but people will collect $1,000, $5,000, $200 to doctor results and to do almost to switch off IRM, everything. Then after 3 months, when the whole money had gone, everything had cleared their eyes, they will start coming to social media, Twitter and Facebook to lament. There is no victim in Nigeria. None is a victim. All of us are collective accomplices. Those who either they are our brothers, our uncles, our aunts, our sons, our daughters, our mothers, our sisters. All the people doing what they are doing. Let me tell you, the truth is a majority of us, 70% of us are criminally minded. Because if we have 60 people, Abraham was telling the angel, peradventure I find 50. Say, if I find 50, I will spare Sodom and Gomorrah. I am very sure. God, every time we are busy doing 100-day prayer, 50-day prayer, 60-day prayer, God is looking at us. God has a sense of humor. You look at these foolish people, look at them. If after all these prayers, we decide among ourselves, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that we're not going to be part of the nonsense. And we have 60% of us who said, we're not going to be part of this nonsense. We want Nigeria to be fixed. This country will be fixed. In 12 years, there will be such a paradise that people will be queuing up in American embassies, in Nigerian embassies in America, Canada, UK to come to this place. But as long as we continue in this route of harness, may God have mercy on us.